Hey guys, welcome in. It is Brad with College SportsCast, and John and I are here tonight, and we are here to do our summer series, SEC Media Days, Day 2. Hey guys, welcome back. It is Brad with College Sportscast. I've got John Hammonds on here with me tonight, and we are here to do our SEC Media Days Summer Series. Day 2 has come and gone, and we will get to that in a minute. What's up, John?
Not much, man. What's up?
Another day, another whole set of media people and teams and players in Dallas at SEC Media Days. And like I said, we will get to that in just a second. Now on the bottom of the screen, I've got scrolling for us. We are featured on the Real Fresh channel and WSBN TV channel 30. We are also going to be featured on greenvillesportsmedia.com. You can find us there as well. Some of our sponsors there, Home Field Apparel and True Victory is another one of our sponsors there at the bottom of the screen. You can see that, and I am going to show you guys this real quick. Hey guys, it's Brad with College Sportscast. We're presented by the Fanboys. I want you guys to check out my brand new Victorious tee from True Victory. Scan that QR code, takes you straight to the website. They're founded by U.S. military veterans. True Victory is a sportswear and streetwear brand dedicated to building everyday champions on and off the field. Our purpose is to transform lives and elevate humanity through the power and unity of sports, positive stories, and serving others. Again, check out that QR code. Use our code, TheFanboys, for a 15% discount. And get a great tee. Man, it's comfortable. And remember, they're part sports, part street, and always true. All right, guys, that's my debut commercial period right there. So check out True Victory. They have great stuff. I'm actually wearing the shirt tonight as well. I try to wear it every once in a while here when we are doing our shows, but I actually do have it on tonight. Check out True Victory. They are veteran first responder ran owned company that does sportswear. So check them out. All right. Facebook. Help support us by sending stars. We had some a little bit today sent to us. It will help us earn money so we can keep making content for you guys. And or you can subscribe to our channel, 99 cents a month. Very, very reasonable. Only 99 cents a month. And you get a subscribers page when you subscribe with us. So that is a couple of things real quick there that I wanted to get to. All right, John, SEC Media Days is going on. Today was Georgia. They started things off today, SEC Media Days. And we had Georgia and Tennessee and Oklahoma and Missouri today at those are the 4 teams that we had for day 2. So we're going to switch to that. Day 2, SEC Media Days in Dallas, Texas. Again, I think I told you guys this yesterday, but there's over 1,200 media members there and podcasters, but there are over 1,200 there in Dallas. And the Mountain West and the Big 12 had one in Vegas last week, in Vegas, and 2 different conferences, and they only had 500 media members, which is a lot of media members. I'm not going to say it's not, but 1,200 swallows them for the SEC. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to get to tonight, and I find this a little bit funny, and it's also something that I said would happen in 2021, 3 years ago, when this story broke that Texas and Oklahoma was going to be coming to the SEC. I said from the very beginning, the day that it broke, that horns down would not be a penalty in the SEC. And I don't know if you guys caught it today at SEC Media Days. They officially announced that horns down will not be a penalty in the SEC. You're muted.
I'll say this on this. Billy Bowman, Oklahoma defensive back, made a pretty good point about this. They asked him about it. He said, if you're that much worried about a penalty and the effects that it has, you shouldn't be playing no ways. Like it's to me, it's silly. I'll be honest with you. I've seen a lot worse in the SEC than horn down.
I've said it all along. Like I think it shows a real sign of weakness. If you ask me, if you can't take somebody's hand signal, I mean, you've got some kind of issue. I mean, honestly,
You do.
I hate to see what happens if somebody flips you off. I mean, I'm just being serious.
Ask Alabama fans. They found it real welcoming when Tennessee.
I mean, if you can't take this, I hate to see what happens if you can't take that. I mean, honestly, I mean, come on now.
Hey, what was it? A few years back, a Tennessee guy picked a ball off and went down the field and flipped off a bunch of Alabama fans. Like, if you can't handle,
I mean, that's a real sign of weakness, if you ask me. And first of all, I said this 3 years ago. I am very glad to see that the SEC still has some, like we can still, say, okay, it's a man's game a little bit. I mean, man up, play ball. Whether or not somebody does some kind of stupid hand signal doesn't mean anything in the realm of the game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It should not affect the game, a position of the ball or anything in the game itself.
I will say something on top of this. We're talking Georgia first, right?
We are.
Okay, well,
yeah, Kirby went first today, so yeah.
Kirby made a little statement today. I kind of thought funny. He said he was talking about his team with Saban, talking about their team coming up this year, and he said, I feel like I'm talking to Darth Vader. He said because he's not used to, he's used to seeing Saban on the other side of the field and at these media days up on the stage. Like he's not used to seeing him, breaking down games, being an analyst. And I thought that was kind of funny that Kirby and
but so after he spoke, he sat down at the media the table there with SEC Network, and him and Saban it wasn't just them, it was a few others there too, but they really had a fun segment. If you guys missed it, they had a fun segment, just a small, kind of a back and forth between.
Yeah, they had a little fun about something about a golf where they playing.
They had a golf tournament things that happened and told the story there. They talked about the Saban getting asked for his media credential yesterday, and Kirby said, "I've been here for years and nobody's ever asked me for mine," and kind of made a joke about it. it was a fun little segment between the two of them.
The funny part was when he said that Saban showed up to the golf course and all the coaches just absolutely scattered everywhere. He said they went from every direction.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was a pretty fun segment.
Yeah.
All right, so we are going to talk about Georgia and Kirby Smart first. They were the first one up to the podium today.
Yep.
Kirby, there's not too many teams in the country that has had the success that Kirby has had over the last 3 or 4 years, back-to-back national champions before last year. They did miss the college football playoff last year, and they were bumped out. So they did not. They were undefeated up till the SEC championship game.
Yeah, it was either or. One of those teams was going to be eliminated with that loss. So it was just bound to happen.
Bama had a loss and then beat them in the SEC championship game. Bama snuck in, got that spot, and Georgia was left out. But that's the only loss that Georgia has had since 2022. And in 2022, they only had the one loss to Bama and won the title. So they've only had 2 losses total, both of them to Bama, in the last 2 seasons.
And here's another interesting stat.
3
Georgia
seasons.
Georgia has won 39 straight regular season games. Like, that's impressive, y'all. Like,
yeah. So there is nobody. I know that there's going to be a lot of talk about Texas and how good they are and them coming into the SEC. But the truth is there is nobody on the planet right now that is a coach, because Saban is retired, that's done more than Kirby Smart has the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and 2, they added Kobe Young from Miami, and Trevor Etienne. They were the 2 big high-profile transfers.
Yeah, Trevor Etienne is going to be a handful of Georgia.
And I'm going to even go as far as saying this, that Georgia's defense might be as good as they was last year.
Sure wish we could have landed Mikael Williams. Know that.
They bring back Malachi Starks. To me, he's the top player at his position for next year's draft. And that's not to mention along the front 4, the front 7. With the front 7, there's 2 or 3 guys there that could go top 20.
Yeah.
And Georgia's first and second string, you get past, Georgia's second and third string, they could be as good as their first string. And
we're talking about you go up and down their roster, man. They're 5-star loaded, 4-star heavy when they don't have 5 stars. So I mean, their talent level up and down the roster is so, defense. Let's just throw this out there. So defensive line, okay? If you take the defensive line and you look at Georgia's roster and compare it to nearly everybody else, even in the SEC, most of your teams in the SEC are going to have 2, 3, or 4 high-class skilled players that they can put in there. Georgia's probably got 8 or 9.
They're at a disadvantage.
Georgia's probably got 8 or 9 just defensive linemen that they can plug in that's a 4 or 5-star kid.
When it comes, I've said it, when it comes to depth, Alabama and Georgia is the top 2 in the SEC when it comes to depth.
Bama lost a little bit in the transfer portal.
Yeah, but Alabama still
not a ton. It wasn't like a mass exit like we have seen in some of these coaching changes, but they did lose a little bit and when they're losing players, they're losing 4 and 5-star kids.
Most of them are going to the draft. Most of them.
Yeah. So I mean, they did lose a few, but Georgia, I'm telling you, up and down that lineup has skilled players that hardly anybody else has in the country. Now, having said that, have you guys looked at their schedule this year?
It's difficult.
Because here's what I'm going to say. If this was anybody else besides Georgia, let's just say that this was
Tennessee or
if
somebody.
you look at it and say this was Texas A&M schedule,
Yep.
we would probably be talking about Georgia's schedule being as tough for Texas A&M as we are about Florida's schedule.
Yep.
Their road conference games is insane.
It's tough.
It's insane.
I think they play at Texas, one of those. They go to
At
Kentucky,
Alabama,
and I know Kentucky's not a pushover win anymore.
Kentucky's the only one that they, but they play
that's really
at Alabama.
Yeah.
They play at Texas. And the other one is it might be Ole Miss.
It ain't A&M, is it? No, they play. I think they play A&M next year.
There's three of them and that's just their away schedule.
Mm-hmm.
They get. If you look at their schedule, it's pretty easy to find 2 losses on that schedule.
And
that could happen. Listen, guys, we're just throwing stuff out here because we're talking about SEC Media Days, and I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but what I am saying is that it's possible.
Well, and I'll go as far as say this, that, don't get me wrong, Georgia's looked human in some games in the season. But a lot of those games, they've won by double digits.
They have.
They've taken care of business. And, until they look human in 2 or 3 different games and actually get tested and pushed to the brink, it's hard not to put them at number 1.
But I'm going to tell you right now, John, if this team, and I know they got the talent, but if this team can go through this schedule, the last 2 or 3 years, their schedule's not been that tough, really, when you look at it preseason.
Mm-mm.
But if you look at this schedule, if they go undefeated with this schedule,
give them the trophy.
I'm telling you right now, I don't think that anybody can beat them in the playoffs. I really don't. I expect to see Georgia with 1, maybe 2 losses.
There's only one.
Do I expect to see them in the college football playoff? Of course, I fully expect to see them there. I'm just saying I think it's humanly possible that they don't go undefeated with that schedule.
I think if you're looking at their schedule, I got it pulled up here. They play Clemson early, play Tennessee Tech, at Kentucky, at Alabama. The game you was talking about was at Ole Miss. It's late in the year. I think 3 games before the year.
At Ole Miss. So they play at Texas, at Alabama, and at Ole Miss. That's 3 of their 4 away games in the SEC. And then they play Clemson.
To me, I think there's only 3 games here where Georgia could get, some test. That's at Alabama, at Texas, and at Ole Miss. The three road games.
Clemson, first game of the season. You never know how first game of the season is going to work out.
But
I'm not saying that I expect Georgia to win, but you just never know in a first game of the year how exactly that's going to play out. Then they got to play Florida, which I'm not saying that Florida's going to be great or nothing, but it's a rivalry game, and you just never know.
It's always pretty nip and tuck, usually.
They play at Kentucky, which I don't think Kentucky's going to beat them. I'm not sitting here and saying that. But, there are other games on the schedule. There are at least 3 or 4 games that you can look at their schedule and be like, man, they could lose here.
Now, their home schedule is Auburn, Mississippi State, Tennessee, and UMass. Well, and Georgia Tech, the rivalry game. Out of those, really the only one that really kind of jumps out at you is the Tennessee game, because that's Tennessee
The
usually
Georgia
gives me
Clemson game is a neutral site game.
is a neutral
Jerry.
site game. Yeah,
You were asking about it.
yeah,
It's a neutral site game.
It's a neutral game.
Yeah. But they do play. They have the Florida game, which is a rivalry game, and then they play Tennessee at home, which won't be a cakewalk.
Mm-mm.
And then they got those road games and Clemson. So if you look at their schedule, could you find 2 losses in that schedule, John? Honestly,
I mean, yeah,
I think you can.
you can find maybe 3 if you don't take care of business.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can find some losses in that schedule, and I know everybody's been like talking Georgia up, and preseason they're probably going to be 1 or 2 or somewhere in that range, maybe 3, but that's as low as they'll be.
I'll say this as far as the SEC goes, not more nationally, but until somebody knocks them off, you got to put Georgia at number 1 in the SEC. I mean, it's
in the SEC. I think you do, but nationally, I don't. I really think Ohio State, with what they did, might be preseason number 1.
Well, I'm going to give you a name. I'm going to give you a name real quick. It'll be for our conference breakdown. I'm going to give you a quick name real quick, a team to watch. Everybody, just so you know, this is a team that I've said probably since spring. Look out for the Oregon Ducks.
Yeah, the Ducks are coming.
The Ducks are really. The Ducks got a really good team. They have a really good roster. They built a really good roster this year.
Yeah, absolutely. But if we're talking about high end and low end here, of course, high end would be Georgia figures out a way to smash through all of this and goes undefeated again in the regular season and is 12-0 and off to the races in the SEC championship and college football playoff. The low end here, I think the low end, you could find 3 losses.
You can
on this schedule.
Especially on this one.
I know that for the mass amount of people out there, if Georgia has 3 losses, most people are going to be shocked. But I think that's the lowest that you will see them.
That's the me.
And that's not a knock on Georgia at all. Georgia is a great team with great players, has talent that is loaded. It's just tough going to Texas.
To me,
it's tough going to Tuscaloosa.
To me, that's the floor. 3 losses. The ceiling is more undefeated, 1 loss. So
right. And that's what we're doing here tonight, talking about all this. We're kind of doing a ceiling and a floor, doing the top and the bottom of what expectations would be. And that's where I think they are, to be quite honest with you. All right, we're going to move on to Tennessee. Tennessee was next. Josh Heupel took the podium next after, as far as team-wise, after Kirby Smart and Georgia. And, of course, Heupel was a Oklahoma quarterback that won a national title a long time ago, and he went before Oklahoma today, and he took some questions about what it would be like to go back to Oklahoma, because I think they do that this year, and what it's going to be like to go back to Oklahoma and play as a road team and take his Tennessee Volunteers to Oklahoma.
I'm going to say this about Tennessee. Where is the love for these guys? Like, Heupel, it's not exactly bare there right now. They bring Nico back. James Pierce Jr. might be the league's top defender. And then they added Chris Brazil from Tulane. This roster has some star power. They could win nine or 10 games.
Again, you're banking on it. You're banking on a redshirt freshman that has one game under.
You are.
Now, he's a 5-star kid. He's greatly talented, everything else. But in the SEC, you're going to take some hits, and it's a tough place to play. And sometimes, even though you are that talented, sometimes it takes you a minute, or it takes you a half a season or a season to figure it out a little bit. And I think that is one of the main reasons why Tennessee is not being hyped up as much as some of the others, is because I think most people think Tennessee's going to have a couple of bumps in the road.
The biggest question mark for me is the secondary. It's made up of a lot of first-year starters and portal guys.
We've been saying that for 3 years.
Oh, we have. But I think if they can iron out the secondary, this team can be really good, which their front four last year might have been one of the best front four in the country.
They've lost a lot of wide receivers. They've lost their quarterbacks. I think they're going to have a pretty good running back.
They are. Samson,
yeah. I think they're going to have a pretty good running back this time.
And their schedule is really not that bad. I mean, you look at it. They play Chattanooga.
They play Georgia. They play Oklahoma.
Beyond that, though, they play Arkansas, play Florida, Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt. Like, it's winnable to win 9 or 10 games there.
Yeah.
Plus the non-con schedule with Chattanooga, and I think it was UTEP, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's UTEP. They play UTEP.
Do they don't get Missouri this year?
No, they do not. They do not get Missouri. I think the schedule sets up for them, like, to win 8, 9, maybe 10 games. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they was picked third.
10 games will challenge to get you in the college football playoff if you can get 10.
Was they picked third in the East, I believe? I believe they was.
There is no East and West anymore.
Oh, that's right. I believe they was third in the SEC, wouldn't they?
Tennessee? No.
No, they wouldn't.
No, they wasn't.
I must have looked at that wrong.
Might have been last year, but not.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was last year. I was looking at the wrong thing. Yeah. But overall, like, they have the weapons offensively, to score with anybody.
Yeah, Jerry's talking about 2 tough road games there for Tennessee.
The way they run offense and the wide splits, it's really hard to defend. And if you're a defense,
the truth is here with Tennessee, it's going to come down to their defense.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day.
A Josh Heupel offense, it's going to be high powered. It's going to be quick. It's going to be like they're going to score inside of 2 minutes a lot.
A lot of times,
And I'm not talking about in one game. I'm talking about all season. They're going to score inside 2 minutes a lot. Quick strikes.
What they did,
big play stuff.
What they did last year, and a lot of people overlooked it, was they ran the ball a lot. They threw the ball a lot. They would set you up with a deep ball, and then they would do those little halfback screens. They do those halfback draws, and they would beat you to death, and they would wear your defense down. That's the kind of offense that Heupel runs.
Tennessee's questions, honestly, it's going to boil down to this. You've got Georgia, Alabama, and Oklahoma, okay? Yep. So unless you can go and pull off a monumental win against those 3, that puts you at 9-3, okay?
Plus, yeah.
Then you got Florida, who you've not had any luck at beating for the last 17 years. They've won 2
It's been
in the
trial and
last
error.
17
Yeah.
years.
It's been tough. Yeah.
All right, against Florida. Even now, even over they got beat last year by Florida. Okay,
they did. Yeah.
So, and then you got Kentucky, who on the other end they usually win and have won like 10 out of 12.
Well,
that's Mark Stoops' tenure.
I'll say this on the whole Kentucky-Tennessee rivalry. It always seems like we fare better at home against them than we do on the road. When we go to Tennessee, it's like we collapse and don't know where we're.
Yeah, I mean, one time that I can think of in my life that we went there and beat them. Honestly, once.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Tough place to play, anyways.
I mean, the chances that we beat them, to be honest with you, it's probably not much, and I'll be the first one to sit here and say it. But also the chances that they go and lay an egg against Florida, it's pretty good, actually. They usually do, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, so
what was it?
That's where Tennessee's at.
Wasn't it a couple of years ago? Tennessee had one of the better teams, and Florida upset them.
Florida 2 years ago, yeah. But they seriously are 2-17 in the last 19 years versus Florida.
That's very trial and error-ish. Like,
did y'all hear me? Because I'm so tired of the Tennessee fans talking about how they beat Kentucky. They do, but they also get their ass handed to them by Florida every year. Just saying.
Seems that way. Seems that way.
I'm just saying, but if they want to get to the college football playoff here, so if we are going to talk about their ceiling and their floor, I think their ceiling is like 10-2 in the college football playoff.
Yeah, but their floor is probably going to be 9-3, 8-4.
8-4, maybe
at the most.
But I don't think the loss to the Gators
with that schedule, though. I'll be honest with you, that schedule is not really tough. Now, you got the Oklahoma game.
The loss to the Gators like they usually do, and then lose to the 3 powerhouses that I mentioned, Georgia, Alabama, and Oklahoma, there's 4 losses. So I think 8-4 is probably their floor.
Yep.
I would be pretty shocked if they went 7-5.
I would be too. I mean, they would have to be losses to Mississippi State, Kentucky.
Yeah.
And some of those I don't see happening.
I mean, I would be pretty shocked if they went.
Which Mississippi State's going through kind of a transition now with Levy being there. So
they are.
That'll be a tough game for Mississippi State to win. So.
Yeah, they are. I agree. All right. Going to go to a little break here in between. So here on College SportsCast, guys, we are going to be featured on the Real Fresh channel. Matter of fact, you can go there right now, and he has downloaded last night's episode on his channel. You can go to the Real Fresh channel on YouTube, and soon we will be going to his channel live. Right now, it is not live, but soon for season 3, we will be going to his channel live, just like on our channel here at YouTube. But here's Howie on a little bit about his Real Fresh channel.
You need new entertainment. You need full-length content. You need the Real Fresh channel. Hey, I'm Fresh from the Real Fresh channel. Subscribe today on YouTube. We have new content. We are a network of podcasters putting out new stuff every single day. Whether you need sports, pro or college, whether you need comedies, whether you need pop culture, whether you need wrestling. We've got so much content on there. Gaming. Check it out. Live, not live. We've got it all. The Real Fresh channel. Subscribe today.
All right, that was Howie Fresh.
And yesterday he showed up out of the blue when it was going on.
He did. I promise. I did not plan that at all. He showed up when I was showing that yesterday. Howie did. Go to the Real Fresh channel on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Watch some videos. He has lots of good stuff there. They do some comedy stuff, some slapstick stuff, and show videos, and like they do some really, really good stuff, funny stuff. He's a rapper. Howie, that's the reason why his name is Howie Fresh. He uses that as his rapping name, and he puts out some good stuff, some good work, good songs.
He does.
Yes. He does have WWE. He does a lot of stuff, Jerry, on wrestling. And he's actually on GreenvilleSportsMedia.com, and he writes about wrestling and stuff too. So, yes. And he also does NFL, MLB, and hockey, NHL stuff as well.
Yep.
So he does a lot of pro stuff as well in sports. So check out Howie Fresh at the Real Fresh channel. All right. So the next guest at the SEC Media Days, for the very first time, they welcomed Oklahoma to the SEC Media Days. Brent Venables was introduced and got to go to the podium for the very first time. I really was interested to see how Brent was going to manage, and if he looked like he was going to be nervous, or if he looked like it was going to be, just out of place or anything. But I really was impressed by Brent Venables today. I thought he handled himself really, really well, was well spoken, had great answers. He only spoke for 6 minutes and then had questions for like 35 minutes. And he took everything in stride. They were asking him all kinds of questions about everything. And he was on point and did not seem rattled at all by any of the questions or anything that was going on. And that doesn't surprise me, only because Brent's been around for a long time. He's won 3 national titles as a defensive coordinator, 1 with Oklahoma and 2 with Clemson. Okay, so he's a winner, and he's been around an awful long time and been on some great teams. The only reason why I say that is sometimes when it's the first time that you've ever walked into the SEC Media Days and you see 1,400 people in there, and everybody's hooked to your words and everything else, and you're used to going to something's got 400 or 500, and there's 1,400 in there. Sometimes it can kind of throw you off just a little bit, and I didn't see that at all with Brent Venables today. Did you?
No, I didn't. And the biggest thing with Oklahoma, I was going to kind of get at it real quick, is their schedule. They're going in.
Definitely going to talk about their schedule, because the thing
that worries me about this Oklahoma team, honestly, is they're starting a first-year quarterback with Jackson Arnold, and there's some
sophomore. He's a sophomore, and he has 1 or 2 starts under his belt, I think, kind of like Nico at Tennessee. Yeah. But he's a sophomore, and the other one's a redshirt freshman.
What I'm saying, a full year with him is what I was getting at. It's going to be new. The defense has got to be better. The defense
they got a new offensive and defensive coordinator coming into the SEC.
And I'm going to be honest with you. Danny Stutzman, their linebacker, he might be one of the best linebackers in the country. along with Billy Bowman in the secondary. And then they got Gentry Williams. He comes back. My biggest thing with Oklahoma this year, I've said it from day one, is their defense has got to be better. Their defense gave up a lot of plays last year.
They finally got rid of Ted Roof. So me and John Roberts can't say the roof is on fire. Because we've been saying that for 2 years about his defense. The roof is on fire.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I had to go there at least one last time. When we talked about Oklahoma. Because
here's something I want to here's something I kind of want to bring up here. You know, their schedule a little bit. They play Houston. I think the second week of the year. They play Tulane. They play Tennessee. And then this is where it gets kind of a lot more tougher as it goes. Play at Auburn.
Tulane is not going to be no slouch. They got John Summerall down there. And, I mean, he is no slouch of a coach. I mean, seriously, that's not going to be an easy game, even at home.
Then they play at Auburn, Texas at the Cotton Bowl, South Carolina at home, at Ole Miss. Then they have a game in between there against Maine. And then they play at Missouri, Alabama, and at LSU. Yeah. And that's where it gets a little hairy.
Yes. Listen, here's my thing, and I'm going to be straight up honest with everybody here. I think this Oklahoma team is going to be a good team. I really do. I think that they're going to be improved. I think that their defense is going to be way better. I think that they are going to be an improved team. However, when you look at this schedule that they have,
it's tough.
I mean, listen, I think 9-3 is going to be their ceiling. And I think it's every bit as possible that this Oklahoma team could go 7-5.
Well, I get that the Tennessee game's at home, but that's going to be a tough game. The Tulane game's not going to be easy. Like you said, John Summerall's there. The games that they're going to need to win down the stretch are South Carolina, the Missouri game.
And the Missouri game's not going to be easy.
And they're going to have to steal a game on the road at Ole Miss, possibly. And I don't think that's going to happen. But Oklahoma might have the second hardest schedule right next to Florida, in my opinion.
I think they have one of the toughest schedules in the conference.
Because Florida,
you look at their schedule top to bottom.
We'll talk about Florida in the next couple of days, but Florida's schedule is absolutely daunting. Florida might be low.
We'll get to that. Because it's tomorrow. The Florida is. But Jerry, when you look at their schedule, I really feel like 7-5 is possible. And like you said, welcome to the SEC.
Welcome to big boy country.
And that could be with an improved team. But their schedule is murder's row in the middle of the schedule. I mean, for about 6 weeks there. I mean, let's be fair.
Let's be fair, though, Brad. It's not just Oklahoma's schedule that's rough. You look down the line with some of these teams like Georgia, Kentucky, like every single game on the schedule every Saturday.
Georgia has a very tough schedule. We already talked about that. But
honestly,
game, John, I would put Oklahoma's schedule probably in the top 2 toughest in the SEC.
There's not a day off. There's not a day off.
Right up there too. What's that?
I said there's not a day off in the SEC on Saturdays.
If you look at Oklahoma's schedule and then you take a look at Texas's schedule, the 2 teams that are coming in, it's daylight and dark. Oklahoma's schedule is 3 times tougher than Texas.
Now, Texas has got
– it's not even
Texas has got a few tough games, but they're not anywhere near where Oklahoma.
I don't think it's anywhere close. I really don't. When you look at the two schedules.
Mm-mm.
So, I mean, that's just my opinion on that. Like Jerry said there, welcome to the SEC.
Yes.
I mean,
it's big boy football. They wanted this, so welcome.
Yeah. So they could very well be improved and still go 7-5.
That's
now,
tough, man.
Here's my question. If that happens, is Oklahoma fans going to start hollering for his job? Because you realize he went under 500 in year one.
He did. I think you got to give him time, maybe 3 years, 4. I think, like you said, 7-5.
This is year 3.
8-4. 8-4 would be good. But at Oklahoma,
I don't think that they will do anything. 7-5? Yeah, I don't know.
Listen,
I'm not saying they'll do it, but I think you'll start hearing some talk that his job is on the line.
Here's the thing about people don't realize about Oklahoma. Oklahoma is a big time job.
Big time football.
And football. It's a football school.
I think Oklahoma's bigger than Texas in football, and that's just my opinion.
I think they're right at the top.
They've done more. They've done more in their history than Texas ever has.
And you're not going to get by with 8-4, 7-5 at Oklahoma and expect to keep your job. That's just not going to happen.
8-4, I think he's fine. 7-5, I think you'll start hearing some grumbling. 6-6, and he might be gone.
He might be hit the road, Jack. Don't come back.
I don't think they're going to go there. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, All right. So
that's my buddy. I just want to shout out my buddy real quick, Steve Black. He's a big Oklahoma fan. I don't know if he's watching or not, but Boomer Sooner, Steve. He loves the Sooners.
Hey,
he's a big Sooner fan.
It really is. It's good to be, after 3 years here, it's good to finally be talking about Oklahoma and Texas in the SEC. They really do overall, not just in football, but basketball, women's basketball, baseball, softball, volleyball. I mean,
softball is a powerhouse.
I mean, you go down the list, sport by sport by sport, they add so much to this already great conference.
Well, and I'll add even to this, not just on the boys' side, but for Texas and Oklahoma with the girls, baseball or softball and basketball, like they're bringing some good competition into the SEC.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. You go down the line, Texas women's basketball this year is going to have a top 5 team. I mean, I'm serious. You go down the line and in sport by sport by sport, and they bring a lot to this conference. It's good to finally be talking about them being a part of the SEC and not like in the future.
I want to say one quick thing. We're starting on Missouri. I kind of want to bring up something real quick for everybody before we get into it. Eli Drinkwitz come to the stage today, and he made one of the best speeches that I've heard a coach make during this whole speech.
He did, and I kind of wanted to start with that.
He vowed
he had 2 topics that he talked about before he even got into the team stuff, and I thought Eli done a great job speaking on both of them. So go ahead.
Well, I don't know if it was the first or second, but he vouched for the Hall of Fame for Mike Leach. And if people don't know who Mike Leach is, he's the former Washington State. He coached at Texas Tech, Mississippi State. He passed away, 2 years ago? Maybe a year ago, 2 years ago.
It will be in December.
It'll be in December. They had vouched for him to be in the Hall of Fame, and he said the Hall of Fame is not complete without Mike Leach. And
so
for me,
a coach has to be above 60%. He's at 59.6. He is literally 1 win shy. 1 win would have put him at the 60% mark.
I just felt
and wait a second. His team, he died in December. His team went on to win the bowl game without him after he died. And he doesn't get, that was his team, went 9-4, won the bowl game, and he doesn't get credit for that win. And to be quite honest with you, I know he doesn't get credit for it because technically he died before that bowl was there, but it was his team that was 9-4 at Mississippi State. And he took Washington to an 11-win season, and he took Texas Tech to an 11-win season.
And I'll say this, Matt Leach's done a lot for the game of football.
Has 158 wins.
The integrator of the air raid, and EA Sports, if a lot of people don't know this, they made it was a playbook, I'm guessing, of
every play call in any team that's using the air raid offense is based off of Mike Leach's
playbook play calls. I thought that was pretty neat. But I thought Eli done a great job with that. I felt that was a heartwarming moment.
He did, and then he also talked about Lane Kiffin. I mean,
he did.
Monty Kiffin, and Lane's dad, Monty Kiffin. He talked about Monty Kiffin and a tribute to him. That was what he started with, and then he went to the Mike Leach thing, and then he got into his team and everything else. And he's another guy. A couple of years ago, he came into the SEC media days, and I thought he kind of looked uncomfortable. He was around 500 after a couple of 2 or 3 years as the coach. There was a little bit of heat on him starting to get to. I mean, there was some rumblings like I was talking about, and I thought he kind of looked uncomfortable a couple of years ago. And then last year they went 11-2, beat Ohio State in the bowl game, which is always something to hang your hat on when you can beat Ohio State. And went 11-2, and I thought he really looked confident, and he looks like he looks like he knows he has a good team.
He does. And I'm going to say this as far as the team goes. He might have one of the top 3 offenses in the country at his disposal. He
won't win it. He won't win it, okay? Because it's a quarterback award, pretty much, okay?
Yeah.
Luther Burden deserves to be in the Heisman race. You heard it here first. College SportsCast on Summer Series. Luther Burden deserves to be in the Heisman race. You just watch and see.
Well, and two, they bring Brady Cook back, their quarterback. Most of their starters return. Now they lose Cody Schrader, and I'll get into Cody Schrader later. I can't believe the kid wasn't even drafted.
He wasn't.
That surprised me.
The first time ever that I can remember that the SEC rushing leader did not get drafted. I mean,
now they do get a good running back transfer from Georgia State.
They do.
Marcus Carroll. Marcus Carroll is going to be fun to watch in that offense. Now, the biggest question mark for me for Missouri is their defense. They lost their DC to LSU this offseason, Blake Baker.
Yeah.
That's going to be and they lost a few of their guys to the NFL.
But I think they're still going to have a pretty strong defensive line, which will help.
They are. They lost 3 defensive backs to the NFL, though. That's going to be a little.
But I think their defensive line is going to be pretty stout, and if they can create pressure with their defensive line quickly, then that helps the back end of the defense.
It helps quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I like Eli Drinkwitz. A lot of people think he's just.
I was really impressed today by him.
People think he's just corny.
I remember a couple of years ago, he really did. He seemed uncomfortable the whole time.
Well, SEC fans have gotten on him for certain things like post-game, like being corny and saying things out of the blue. But I think he means well. I just think that's just his personality. I think that's
It
just
is.
how
He's a little different. He kind of reminds me of Mike Leach
in a way, yeah.
not in the same way, but Mike Leach was kind of an eccentric guy that not everything in his life was about football.
Mm-mm.
You know what I'm saying?
If you not noticed it, I posted something earlier. I said something about Mike Leach. I posted a video. He was giving advice on weddings.
Yes.
On how to
Halloween candy. And I mean,
Halloween,
and he would talk, he had a law degree and he would talk about anything, just crazy, like,
mascots.
And Eli is kind of, he has an education that's not all towards football and stuff. And he's kind of a eccentric, kind of different, not he's a little off, a little different from most football coaches and stuff. So I think that's where he gets some of the heat that he does.
Yeah.
But when it comes to talking ball today, he was impressive.
He was. And I'll even say this, their first 4 games, they could be undefeated going to A&M.
And I'm going to be honest, if you look at Missouri's schedule, we've talked about schedule for all the rest of them. I don't think Missouri is not one of the 16 teams that has a tremendously tough schedule, if you ask me.
Well, they start out with Murray State. They play Buffalo. They play Boston College. They play Vanderbilt, which I think all 4 of those first games are home games. Then they go on the road to A&M. And then they go to UMass this year. That's a non-conference game. They go to UMass. Then they come home and play Auburn, at Alabama, Oklahoma at home, at South Carolina, at Mississippi State, and then they finish the year out with Arkansas. I'm going to tell you what I'm most excited for out of this schedule is that game against Oklahoma because it's renewing that rivalry again.
Yeah.
Missouri and Oklahoma.
You look at that schedule outside. I mean, they got Texas A&M. Is that a home or away? That's an away game, right?
It's at A&M, yeah.
All right. So A&M away won't be a cakewalk. Mm-hmm. Oklahoma, and there's one more in there that was is it Alabama?
Mississippi State and
not Mississippi State.
It's Alabama.
And
Auburn. But they play Auburn.
I mean, they beat them last year on the road. I think Auburn at home, they should win that game. I really do.
The at Alabama game is probably that one.
And I think they get Oklahoma at home, don't they? Isn't that a home game?
Yeah. The 2 games that really concern me, especially on this schedule, is at Texas A&M and at Alabama. Now,
and they get Oklahoma at home, which could be a loss. I mean, I'm not saying it ain't, but even if they lose that game and win the rest of them, that's 9-3.
Now, I will say the South Carolina game will be tough too because it's Williams-Brice is always a tough place to play, and they're going to be much improved.
Missouri has a better team. I mean, I'm not saying that they can't lose the game at Williams-Brice because they can, but I mean, preseason looking at it, I think Missouri has the better team.
I do. I think the ceiling to me is 10 wins at the most for me.
I think the ceiling is 10 wins. If they can figure out
the floor could probably be 9, maybe 8.
Maybe 8. They might figure out a way and go 8-4.
But if you're a Missouri, ain't you glad you missed Tennessee and Kentucky? You don't get neither one of them.
I know. They do.
They struggled against those teams.
I think when you look at their schedule, I mean, they got A&M, Alabama, and Oklahoma. And I'm sorry, but Auburn right now, I don't consider them a high-class SEC team.
Hey,
right this minute.
Don't you speak juju on Cam Coleman. Cam Coleman's going to be the real deal in Auburn this year.
I just don't see. I mean, they might find a way to 8 wins. Maybe they might find a way to 8-4. Maybe.
Oh, and a quick thing, I don't know if it was Brady Cook. It might have been Brady Cook, Carson Beck. I can't remember what quarterback it was, but one of them told the other one that Jordan Hare was cursed. Was that Beck and Brady Cook?
Yeah.
I think that was Brett. He said,
okay.
Auburn's
So
a cursed.
we talked about all of this here. I think Missouri's ceiling is 10-2 and a possible college football playoff at 10 wins.
I do.
And probably 8-4 is probably, I would think, would be the lowest that this Missouri team would go with this schedule.
Yep.
But here's the last thing I want to talk about. I know I've already mentioned Luther Burden, but I've seen a whole lot of lists on quarterbacks in the SEC. And I've seen very few that has Brady Cook in the top 5.
And he might be one of the top 5 in there.
And I'm going to tell you guys, if Missouri has the offense that I think they're going to have, I think Brady Cook, offensively, numbers-wise, could be a top 2 or 3 quarterback in this league.
I'm right there with you, brother.
I'm not saying draft-wise that he's going to be drafted in front of Jackson Dart, or that he's going to be drafted in front of Carson Beck, or that he's going to be drafted in front of Jalen Milroe. I'm not saying that, okay? But if you go numbers-wise, in the SEC this year,
it's hard to.
I'm telling you guys, Brady Cook could be a top 2 or 3 quarterback in this league.
And he's got a win over Ohio State on his resume.
He does.
Which, to be fair, Ohio State said a lot of people that game, but still.
It does not matter. When Ohio State is another one of those teams that just plugs 5-star guys in.
Just everywhere, yeah.
Let's say that, okay?
Brad's getting his little moment in there.
They just plug 5-star guys in, just like Georgia. We were talking about it earlier.
Yeah.
Ohio State is another one of those schools.
It's just a reload every year. Yeah.
It's a revolving door of 5-star kids, studs. Now, they may not have the experience, but they got the talent.
They do. You want me to tell who's tomorrow, so everybody will know?
Give me just a second. I'm going to do a little promo here that I was going to do for us. All right, guys. So before we go on here, I am going to do a little promo here on how to find us on WSBN TV, World Sports Broadcast Network.
Hey guys, it's Brad with College SportsCast, and we're presented by the Fanboys. We are now a part of WSBN TV on Channel 30. It's World Sports Broadcasting Network, a streaming service TV, and we are excited to be on that. We want you guys to know how to find us. Go to Boxcast app, download the app. Once you do, you can find us on Apple TV, Roku TV, Fire Stick as well. So we cover college sports, of course. We talk about certain teams and hot topics and news. We do game day pick'ems, and we do week wrap-up shows as well as special guests. So we would love to have you tune in and watch our shows on Tuesday and Thursday nights at 8 p.m. and Sunday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. That schedule was last season's schedule, and things may change just a little bit this year.
Just a little bit.
But that also does tell you how to find us on WSBN TV. So I wanted to put that up there for you guys and talk just a little bit about that. All right. So the last thing that I want to show you and talk to you about is how to follow us. You can follow College Sportscast on Facebook, on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, or these are our Twitter handles right there on the screen. They've been on the screen when I don't have something up. When I have something up, they disappear. But that is our X, our Twitter handles. And go to Greenville Sports Media for all your sports need. GreenvilleSportsMedia.com. We are featured on there as well. So, all right,
And the schedule tomorrow is Alabama will start it off tomorrow.
Bama with Kellen DeBoer, no Saban.
Yeah. Then we will have the Florida Gators, Billy Napier and company, which we'll talk about them tomorrow in their schedule. It's absolutely brutal. Let's just
And the hot seat. Let's talk about
you think Oklahoma's schedule's bad? Let's take a look at Florida's tomorrow. Then you have Mississippi State. They will enter in the new era with Jeff Levy, former OC from Oklahoma. Had some time at Ole Miss, I believe, under Lane Kiffin.
He did.
And then we have the Hook'em. The Texas Longhorns will be welcoming
first time in the SEC. Like I was talking about today, being interesting to see how Venables handled the SEC.
How was Sark?
It'll be interesting to see how Sark does tomorrow for Texas as well. First time.
It's been great tonight.
Yep, absolutely. Love doing this. Love talking football. Love talking SEC.
Jerry said
later days. Again, we hope to be there soon. Next year's in Atlanta. I would love to be able to go. Just want to put that out there on our show here. I will apply.
Jerry said later, fellas.
Yeah, later, Jerry. I appreciate it. We would love to be able to go to Atlanta next year. That would be a cool trip to go to Atlanta and go cover SEC Media Days.
3 more days until College Football 25 drops in the household. I'm just giving you a heads up.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will.
Brad, we joke about it, but Brad always says he'll lose his partner whenever that game comes out.
At least for a week or two.
A week or two.
Yeah.
He makes a joke about it all the time.
All right. We will see you guys tomorrow night for day 3 of SEC Media Days. Y'all have a good night.